what's up guys, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm on the street, and today we are doing something that's a little more technical than what we normally do. I am showing you guys how to install a web server on your computer. Now before you start today, you are going to need a fresh, clean install. Well, not necessarily a fresh, clean install. You're going to need some installation of Ubuntu 14.04 because that is the operating system that I'm showing you how to do this on. I have done videos on how to install Ubuntu in the past. I know that they weren't complete walkthroughs, they weren't way too detailed. So if anyone out there really needs me to explain how to install Ubuntu on a computer, then you can leave a comment below and I guess I'll make a video on how to install Ubuntu. But yeah, you're going to just need Ubuntu 14.04 is the latest version. It is also a long-term support release, which means that it will be supported for 5 years, so until 2019. And yeah, you're going to need to install that on some computer. It doesn't have to be your main computer. It can be, see, I've just got a random Dell Dimension. You probably can't see it down there. I've got some older computers in this house, and it can be an older computer, just a spare computer you have laying around. But you're going to install Ubuntu. Of course, you can make web servers with Windows and Mac OS on them. The Nerd on the Street web server is running Mac OS right now. But yeah, for the purposes of this video, I'm showing you how to do everything for free. You don't have to pay for any software. So yeah, we're using Ubuntu Linux 14.04 once again. So make sure you have that installed before you begin. And again, I am showing you how to set up and configure a web server. Now, we are not going to be showing you how to actually make a website today, but just how to get the basic server set up. How to get your computer hosting web pages on your home network, and if you want to configure port forwarding on the internet. I'm not showing you how to configure port forwarding in this video. That can be a separate video. Now, in this day and age, freedom of speech, especially on the internet, is becoming really important, and I think that it's a really valuable thing to be able to host your own web server, even if you don't have a domain name. Just being able to host your own files on the internet is something that's really powerful. Now, I know that this is more advanced than what we normally do on this channel, so if you have any questions about the process, if you run into any trouble, go to our forums at nerdonthestreet.com, register, drop us a line there, and I will be happy to assist you. But for now, I guess we'll just jump right in. Alright everyone, here we are. Once again, we are using a stock Ubuntu 14.04 long-term support install. So if you don't already know how to install Ubuntu, then you can let me know. I might do a video on that. But we are going to assume you have just installed Ubuntu, you have done nothing else so far, and we are going to make this into a web server. So what we're going to do is we are going to open up a terminal, and please excuse the slow speed in this video of the computer because I'm running VirtualBox right now and the recording software is also going, but we are going to open up the terminal. Now make sure that you've gone through the software updater before now and you've installed all the Ubuntu updates, but aside from that, you don't need to do anything before this once again. So we are going to type sudo apt-get update, and that is going to refresh our package manager, and it might check for updates too. No, it did not check for updates, it doesn't look like, but it did just refresh our repositories once again. Now we are going to type sudo apt-get install lamp-server and then a caret. And the caret on your keyboard is going to be above the number 6 if you hold down shift if you're using a standard QWERTY keyboard. Now what we're going to install is a meta package that will install Apache, MySQL, and PHP for us. And that's what LAMP stands for, is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. You can substitute MySQL for other database programs, and you can substitute PHP for other web scripting languages, but that's basically what LAMP stands for. We're going to install the standard Linux web server stuff. So we will hit enter, and it is telling you all of the packages it's going to install. So as you can see, we've got Apache, we've got MySQL, and we've got PHP. So we will type yes, click enter. All right, so there will be a few prompts like this when you're installing LAMP, and this one's from MySQL. So it's asking us to set a password not for your computer's root user, because Linux has its own root user that you've got a password for, but this is for the MySQL root user. So put in here something that is going to be the absolute administrative password for your MySQL server specifically. You know, you want to use a different password for everything that we're making here, theoretically. I'm just going with password for all of it for demonstration purposes, but you should come up with a different password, once again, for every screen that asks you for a password here. And then I would write down what password goes with what service. So there is our root user password for, once again, the MySQL server only. And as you can see, this is not only installing all of these components, but it's configuring them as well. We just restarted the web server multiple times. And yeah, everything should be set to work together. So Apache, you're not going to have to go in and manually enable PHP like you would have to if you were doing this on macOS, or if you were installing Apache separately from PHP. It configured Apache so that it's going to use the PHP module when it needs to automatically. So we can exit out of that, and it looks like the Apache server is actually already running. It looks like it started that for us, then it restarted it a couple times. So let's go ahead and open up a web browser on the same computer you just installed the server on, and type in localhost. And as you can see, Apache 2 Ubuntu default page. So as you can see, we have successfully installed our web server. So as you can see, the default directory for Ubuntu server is /var/www/html. So if we open up our file browser, and let's head on over to, let's go to the root of our drive, and then var www HTML, this is where all the HTML documents are stored. So this HTML document that we just loaded up in our web server right here, this is actually where that document is stored. Now, as you can see, we cannot actually modify this ourselves quite yet because we don't have the necessary permissions. The root user of this computer is the owner because we installed the web server as super user. We used the sudo command. So we will open up a terminal. So by default, only the root user is able to modify this file. However, I just went in and applied a couple of permission changes, and you're not going to want to use these permissions for every single file on your web server, of course. But just for demonstration purposes, I'd like to go ahead and open up this HTML document. And this is where the header of the document is, and we can type in web server test, save that. Now if we go back and reload that document in our web browser, as you can see, the text changed. So you can see this is not a website that's hosted on some remote server. This website, you can tell, is being hosted right on our computer, which is really cool. Now, of course, we would want to replace this file, as it heavily recommends, it's in bold there. You should replace this file before continuing to operate your server. So if you wanted to program, if you know HTML, go ahead and just write up an HTML page and delete this index.html file. And how this works is if you name any file in this directory, index.html, it will become the home page of your server. Then yeah, just write up an HTML document, rename it to index.html, and then, yeah, anyone going to your server will see that document. Now, I'd like to do a couple things. I'd like to see if PHP is working, and I'd like to see if MySQL is working. So what we are going to do, there's a very, very common program used to administrate MySQL databases, and it's called Php Myadmin. So we are going to go ahead. I don't know the website for this off the top of my head, but if we just type in Php Myadmin, here we go. Now we've got this page. Let's download the newest version of Php Myadmin. And what this will let us do, this is a PHP application written to let you, once again, administrate your MySQL server. So you can view and change your databases that you've got, and you can do all kinds of stuff. You can make new users. So now what we're going to do is we are going to open up this Php Myadmin zip file that we just downloaded. And I guess I'll put the link to download this in the description. And we are going to extract that folder into our web server. Now I'm actually going to go and I'm going to take our HTML folder, that's our web server. I'm going to see if I can add that to our places sidebar. Bookmarks, bookmark this location. So now in the sidebar we've got bookmarks, and this HTML folder is just right here. So if we go back and click extract again, now we've just got this bookmarks thing. So I can click on that, extract. So we will extract our application into this folder, and we will rename this folder. Now, folders in your web server folder are going to be directories on your web server. So if we rename this to Php Myadmin, all lowercase, Okay. Now, if we go to our web server and do localhost, and localhost is going to be our website name right now, localhost/php myadmin, because that's what we just called that folder. Now, as you can see, we've got the php myadmin application. So we will type in, right now we don't have any users set up in MySQL. Some people will tell you should probably set up users first thing in MySQL. But for now, we're going to log in as the root user, and from there, we can set up more users. So we are going to log in as root, and then remember earlier when we were installing the LAMP server, it asked us to set a root password for MySQL. So put in whatever password you put in at that prompt in the terminal. And now we are actually logged in to php myadmin. As you can see, it's not completely configured. Now I'm going to go to localhost/php myadmin/setup. All right. Now the first thing we need to do is create a writable folder called config in our php myadmin directory. So I'll go ahead and do that. Config, just make the folder there. And then once we've made that config folder, right click and click properties, and then we'll need to go to permissions. And as you can see right now, only the user that you're currently logged in as can create or delete files within that folder. So we're going to go to others because our web server is not running under our user, and change that from access files to create and delete files. And we can click close. In the future, after you're done configuring, you can change that back to access for security reasons. But for now, we're going to reload our page, and as you can see, that message went away because we now have the folder that it asked us to create. So, new server. Now this is going to walk us through adding the server to php myadmin, adding our MySQL server. So we are going to leave the first one blank. The host name, now this is going to be localhost because you're running the web server that php myadmin is running on the same computer as you're running your MySQL server. Leave empty for default for server port, server socket, leave empty for default. Enable SSL, we won't do that right now. But if you have that set up, then you can do that. Connection type, leave TCP if unsure. Once again, guys, this is just a basic setup that we're going through. Compress connection, we're just going to leave everything at the default. Click apply. And now, as you can see, we didn't have a secret set, so it went ahead and created a key that it's going to use to encrypt cookies. And earlier it was prompting us to create that ourselves, but now it did it for us because we're going through this wizard. So we are just going to, I think everything's fine. So now we're going to click save. And after we've done that, configuration saved. Copy it to top level 1 and delete directory config to use it. All right, so now we're going to go into the config folder. We've got this config.inc.php file. We are going to copy, paste it out here, and then we will delete the config folder so that nobody else can mess up our configuration. And now we can go ahead and go back to localhost/php myadmin, log in once again, and now we have full access to our SQL database. So as you can see right now, we have 3 databases already created, but in the future when we're installing more programs like WordPress or OwnCloud and things like that, we will come here and type in database name to create new databases. So this is what we're going to use to manage our MySQL server. Now, lots of people will tell you that you're not really supposed to use the root user of your MySQL database for everything, and I agree. Using the root user for everything that you're doing is kind of insecure. So we are going to add a new user, and the new user is going to be, you can make this whatever you want, probably something people aren't going to guess, but we'll just say sample user, and then host we can leave. If you leave this at any host, then you'll be able to use this username from other web servers and from other computers that aren't on your web server. If you want to be more secure about it, you can select local, and now nobody on other computers can log in with this user. You can still log in with your root user from a different computer, but you have to actually be on this computer that we're on right now, on our web server itself, to log in and use this user that we're creating. Password, we will set go. And if you want to generate a random password, it will let you do that. We're not going to. I just set those to password. We'll see if it lets me continue with that or not, but you should make the password obviously something nobody can guess once again. This is a handy option. Create database with same name and grant all privileges. Let's say that you want to use a different user for every application you install on your web server. For instance, if you got WordPress installed, then you would just use a WordPress user specifically for that WordPress installation. And then if you install another program like OwnCloud, then you would use a user called OwnCloud, and it would just be for OwnCloud. Then you can make the user called like WordPress, and then you can create a database with the same name and grant all privileges, and that will make it very easy to dictate what users have access to what databases. So that's a great way to be secure there, so you're not giving every application access to every database. Now here we're going to say what privileges we want our user to have. And these are the global privileges. And for the purposes of demonstration, we're going to check all of these so I don't have to go and reconfigure permissions every time I show you guys how to install something. But you're probably not going to want to check this normally, because what you can do is go through and specify database individual privileges, and you can say this user can access this database, and this database. And you can still say you want it to be able to do everything in the database if you don't want to have to learn what all of this does. But you still might not want to give it global privileges. This is allowing this user to basically do anything on our server, which once again is great if you're just showing someone how to do this, if you're doing this for a development server. But if you're actually going to be putting this on the internet, then you are going to want to not check this box, and you're going to want to really, you're going to want to use this create database with same name and grant all privileges box and just create a new user for every application you install. But for now, we are going to just give this sample user full access to our entire server, because why not? We'll click go. And you have added a new user. So now if we go back to users, we're already 2 users. As you can see, we've got sample user, does have a password, must be logged in from localhost, has all privileges. So yeah, now we have our MySQL server set up. So that's great. So right now we have a basic website set up, actually, which is pretty cool. Now, how are you going to get to this website? Well, when you're on this computer that you're on right now, that you just set up the web server on, you are going to type in localhost to get to that page. But that's not going to work, obviously, on any computer in the world. Now, if you're just using this server in your house, like if you're using OwnCloud or something and you're just going to be accessing this server from within your own home connected to your own network, then this is what you can do. You can open up a terminal, you can type in ifconfig, all one word, hit enter, and take a look at whatever network connection is active. For me, it's Ethernet 0. Take a look at the IP address here. The iNet address is what it calls it. And for me right now, because I'm in VirtualBox, it's 10 dot something. For you, this is going to be 192.168.1 point something. And this iNet address right here is your internal IP address. So any computer connected to your own home network will be able to access this website by going to a web browser and typing in this address. And I can demonstrate that kind of here. There we go. As you can see, it loads the same page. We can go to Php Myadmin, and it loads that up too, because this is the same thing as localhost when we're on this computer, but localhost would not work on other computers in your home. If you've got other computers in your home, though, type in once again, the iNet address. That is your internal IP address. That will work from within your network. Now, if you want to use this from outside of your network, that's a little beyond the scope of this video. You're going to need to configure port forwarding on your router. So look up how to port forward on your router. You're going to want to forward port 80, that's port 80, to whatever this iNet address is. And then you're going to look up what is my external IP address. So just Google what is my external IP address, and it will probably come up just in Google, but there are websites that will tell you your external IP address. So once you set up port forwarding, then you'll type in your external IP address from anywhere in a web browser from any computer on the internet. And if you've got everything port forwarding set up correctly and you're using the correct external IP address, then that will also get you to the same website. But once again, that's a bit beyond the scope of this video. This was just how to set up a basic web server. So yeah, that is not a fully functional website yet, but we do have a running web server. And that web server can host web pages, and we've got ourselves PHP set up so we can run PHP web applications. And we've got a MySQL database set up, or a MySQL server at least, and we can make databases on that server. So I will be reviewing a number of content management systems and web applications that you can run on your home web server. But for now, that's all I'm going to show you. I think this video contains enough information to cut it off at this point. Once again, if there are any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below or drop us a line at noneofthestreet.com. I might make another video just on setting up your web server, or next week, or this week I guess it is, I will be reviewing OwnCloud 7 the day it comes out. So yeah, I hope I explained that somewhat okay, and I hope you were able to follow along. For now, that's all I have to show you, so I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm Nerd on the Street, and I will see you guys later. See ya.